Alrighty, welcome to our first episode of Film Illiterates. This is kind of a new thing. By the way, I'm Joe Campbell.
I'm Alex Patin.
This is kind of a new thing we're going to be trying out, where we're going to be talking about, I guess, more, not older movies, but kind of more obscure movies, maybe stuff from cult classics to B movies to just mainstream movies that you probably haven't seen.
Yeah, essentially just people, or movies that people haven't heard of.
So this week, we watched a very fantastic little movie called Falling Down.
Yes.
Falling Down is about an office worker, played by Michael Douglas, who abandons his car during his morning commute. His long walk home turns deadly as he grows increasingly frustrated at how society is treating him. Robert Duvall plays the cop whose last day on the force turns from mundane to action-packed as he hunts down Michael Douglas. The film is directed by Joel Schumacher, director of such classics as Phone Booth, The Phantom of the Opera, and Batman and Robin. And right there, I probably just made the movie sound a lot more exciting and interesting than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, like, that description is just like, oh man, I want to go watch that today. Let's see if we can get that back in theaters. But no, I don't want to, trust me.
Just be the two of us in the theater with, like, the one, you know, really big Joel Schumacher fan, like, sitting in the front row, and you and I are, like, heckling, and he's like...
Just that one person that actually likes this movie. Is like, they have, like, the poster in their room, they have, like, the, like, special edition of the movie and everything like that. And they're just, like, watching the movie just, like, in awe, and we're just, like, cracking up all the whole time.
And the guy in the back, hey, shut the up!
I think I might say, I want to say Michael Douglas, actually. Just because, like, his character is more interesting than Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall is kind of, like, playing, like, the old cop, last day on his job. And, like, I feel like we've kind of seen that before.
I'm too old for this shit.
I mean, we've seen, like, sort of, like, the Michael Douglas kind of, like, his version of, like, a crazy person. But it's just, his is more interesting. I like watching him him progress as he gets crazier and crazier, and we learn more about him. So honestly, yeah, the more interesting character would be Michael Douglas.
Well, now, when you're talking about, we've seen Michael Douglas play crazy before. Like, are you referring to a specific role, or just?
No. I mean that, like, version of crazy.
Okay.
Not particularly his acting in that,
gotcha.
but, like, just that kind of, like, a crazy person. I guess I feel like we've seen in film. I can't name any specifics off the top of my head, but, like, it just feels like I've seen it before.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, easily, without a doubt, Michael Douglas is the most interesting, almost the most interesting thing about the movie in general. Robert Duvall, he's fine, but he's Robert Duvall. I feel like Robert Duvall has played an old guy in every single one of his roles. I think he was never young. I think he was always old.
Yeah.
Even in a lot of his older movies from the 70s and like Tender Mercies, for instance, he was an old guy in that one.
All right.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie so long. Maybe he is young in that one. I don't remember. Michael Douglas, though, he's interesting because the movie opens up with him, and they don't show us Robert Duvall right off the bat. He kind of comes in later.
Yeah.
But Michael Douglas, he starts off the movie, and he seems like just like your regular blue collar worker or whatever, you know, the guy on his way to work, you know, and he just kind of snaps and walks home because he's just pissed off at the traffic.
Yeah.
But as the movie progresses, like the more they reveal about his character, the more interesting he gets. Whereas Robert Duvall is kind of like from beginning to end, you know who the guy is.
Yeah, he doesn't really change.
Exactly. Whereas Michael Douglas, I'm not convinced that he changes a whole lot, but our perception of him at least changes.
Yeah.
Just letting you know also, by the way, in some of these questions we'll probably be getting into spoilers.
Yeah.
Not that you care about spoilers.
If you haven't really seen this movie before, you probably won't really need to.
Yeah.
You have to order something from the lunch menu.
I don't want lunch. I want breakfast.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm really sorry, too.
Get a gun! Let's get organized. Calm down. Just calm down, everybody. Just sit down. Sit down over there.
Hey. Mister. Where are you going? No. You sit down there and you finish your lunch. Come on. Everybody just relax and take it easy. Come on. Why don't you eat your lunch, please? Eat your lunch. You all need your vitamins A's and B's and... No, it's an accident. It's an accident. The trigger, it's sensitive.
It's a great scene, probably one of the most memorable scenes in the movie. But the fact that we've gone from a guy who from all outward appearances just kind of a normal but frustrated guy to him pulling out machine guns or handguns or whatever he had in that scene in the middle of a burger joint, it's kind of like, what would drive a man to do that?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting, and maybe I'm digging in a little bit too deep into Falling Down, which isn't really a deep movie, but it's interesting. That's what grabs your attention.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the same thing. It's like his progression is definitely what drives the movie. I was more interested in too, like, because we start off, we see him and we see him stuck in traffic. That's immediately relatable, especially to anyone who lives in Southern California. That's immediately relatable. Like we've all been there and we all know it sucks. So when we see him get pissed off, and we're like, yeah, man, all right, we're rooting for him because he's like, he's doing something that we kind of wish we would do if we got stuck in traffic. And then he goes and just like busts up this like guy's shop because he's selling overpriced Coca-Cola. And that from like that point on, your perception of like immediately changes because that's, you're looking at him as the good guy, as the person you root for. And then he does that and it changes a little bit until he's gets further along until you realize he's totally the bad guy. And you had it all wrong and like rooting for him at first, and then when Robert Duvall's character comes in, we start rooting for him. I just thought it was interesting that the person we're rooting for changes, throughout the movie. It starts off where we think that Michael Douglas is the protagonist, and obviously, like I said, that perception of him changes. So overall, I'd probably have to say that Robert Duvall's character is the protagonist. We just don't meet him until later, because I mean, he is the good guy in all of this. He's the one trying to get the bad guy and stop him from going crazy and killing his family. So yeah, I think Robert Duvall would probably be the protagonist in this, and then Michael Douglas is the antagonist that you just don't know it yet starting out.
Yeah. I initially thought that too, but I'm going to make an argument.
Okay.
For Michael Douglas here.
Okay.
And not necessarily condoning his actions, because the guy is a terrible jerk from the moment you meet him. And he is a bad dude. But one thing I noticed in the movie is that they keep on pairing him up against people who are a lot worse than him. I mean, like, for instance, you have the shop owner.
Okay, Mr. Lee, let's just start off with what he looked like.
White man, white shirt, tie.
What color was his tie?
Cut up?
Yeah.
I don't know cut up. The guy attacked me, okay? He bust out my store. I'm lucky to be alive.
Now, Michael Douglas does all this stuff, but he's not terribly unlikable personality-wise, at least at that point.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like at that point, we're still kind of backing him up. We're at that point we're starting to question his motives and question whether he's actually the good guy. But yeah, I agree with you. Like at that point, we don't really think he's the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. But then like even later on though, I mean, like he goes up against the gangsters.
It says this is fucking private property. No fucking trespassing. This means fucking you.
And then there's the neo-Nazi.
Yeah, that guy.
You know what was in this? Zyklon B. You remember? What the Nazis had?
Yeah, that part was okay. It was like, all right, that's a really terrible person. I mean, killing him is not great. But, this guy's way worse than Michael Douglas is. And so, we're still backing up Michael Douglas at that point.
And then at the very end there, when he wants to get his wife and his child back because his wife left him, and he's trying to get them back, but he's going about it in like the worst way possible, where he's essentially threatening them with a gun.
Yeah.
But even then, you don't get the feeling that he means harm, he just doesn't know how to go about it. He's just socially challenged, essentially. So instead, we're given a profile of a man who, instead of being wronged by society as we initially thought, is a person who doesn't fit into a perfectly functioning society.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I don't know if I necessarily agree, because I feel like when his wife left him, that's kind of like what snapped in his mind. Like that's what really put him like crazy. And then after he like I think he got fired from his job or something like that like just further did it. I feel like before that though, before all that happened, he was like somewhat normal and he could like fit in well enough with society. I mean, like he watched like some like old home movies and like in the film, and he's like,
it's a creepy ass scene.
Yeah, that's definitely creepy. But like as he showed some problems in that, but like I still feel like even then, like with the problems, he was still able to sort of fit into society. I mean, like he was still able to hold his job then. I mean, he was normal enough that he got married and everything like that. He was still fine. He was okay. He had problems, but he was okay. And like I feel like it wasn't really so much that like he didn't know how to fit into society. It's just all the stuff that happened to him just messed something up in his mind. He just lost it.
I think I would very firmly put this in the grounds of an actual comedy, not unintentional. I think this movie was meant to be kind of a dark comedy. It's funny actually. We have talked so much about Michael Douglas because Robert Duvall he has some very funny scenes in the movie. I mean, like for instance, later on, there's this whole thing where it's his last day on the force. He wants to go home, but then his wife really wants him to come home.
Jeez, yeah.
Sandra, could you hold on 1 second?
I gotta go.
No, just 1 second. It's very important.
Detective Torres.
Hon, let me call you right back, okay?
What's wrong? What are you doing?
Nothing's wrong. I'm not doing anything. What do you mean?
I'm not sure how seriously Joel Schumacher was taking this movie. Like, it has some interesting stuff. It is kind of a drama. I think at its core, though, it's nothing more than just a dark comedy.
I can see that, yeah. I still feel like it's a lot of the pacing and like in the scenes, like in the burger place scene. I feel like the pacing of that doesn't really fit well within a comedy. At least like between what we should perceive as funny follows like the next. But yeah, I could see it as a dark comedy overall.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a sadist. How does society treat people, and how do we treat people, and how does that reflect on them? How does that affect them? Because if you see it as a story of a man who, through the course of his day, turns violent because of the way other people treat him, especially if it becomes a movie especially if they're treating him that way because he's different, then it becomes a story about we need to, as a group of people, as a society overall, we need to start treating people better and just acknowledge them for who they are. Not saying that they should condone people who go around shooting up burger joints because they don't serve them breakfast.
Don't condone that.
I don't want lunch. I want breakfast.
It's a film about civility, or should I say, just being civil towards people. Robert Duvall, who turns out to be kind of the hero of the story. He's a very civil guy. His wife nags him during the whole movie, but he doesn't snap back at her. He's very respectful, but at the same time, he doesn't feel like he has to bow to everything everybody says.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, you find out that he actually really wants to continue being a cop, but he feels pressured into retiring because his wife thinks the job's too dangerous. And at the end of the film, he tells her, or I don't even think he tells her, but he tells someone that, okay, I'm going to stay on the force, but you get the feeling that he still respects and loves his wife very much.
I feel like the overall message, at least from what I got, I definitely agree with what you were saying in that it really kind of points to how we treat people and how we should treat people. I also kind of think that it's kind of showing how easily someone can just like snap, how easily someone can just like lose their mind and lose whatever they were thinking about, and like, or just their own civility and just like come off the handle.
Yeah.
Just shoot up a burger joint. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it. Like, I had fun, like, you know, making jokes at it and
Yeah.
whatnot, like, laughing at it. I definitely don't think it's a very good movie, and I have no intention of really ever watching it again. But, you know, in the moment while I was watching it, it was fun.
Exactly. And I wouldn't say it was a great movie by any means, but I still enjoy watching it. I took away a few things about it. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie necessarily, but it's not really a very good movie. It's somewhere in the middle, but it's a good kind of in the middle. It's a very difficult movie to describe. If you like early 90s Michael Douglas and that kind of stuff and kind of dark comedies, I say check it out.
Yeah, I agree.